Yes. I call the regular board meeting to order. All board members are present. Dr. Balin, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to all in attendance. Please be advised that in the event of a fire and emergency and an evacuation should be unnecessary, an alarm will sound. Please note all marked emergency exits and evacuate well away from the building. At this time, we request that everyone turn their cell phones and other electronic devices to silent. Thank you. Dr. Brown Hall, I turn it over to you for item number 3, recognition.
Thank you very much, Board President. Future City is one of the biggest technology and engineering competitions students throughout the United States have the opportunity to compete in. This year, at the regional competition, High Middle School finished 3rd, Mill Middle School finished 2nd, and Transit Middle School was 1st. With their victory in regionals, the Wolfpack represented Transit and the Williamsville Central School District at the national competition in Washington, D.C. Please welcome Principal Dr. Dan Wall, Advisor Sarah Coyle, and the Future City team as they share more on this impressive accomplishment. Wolfpack.
Good evening, board members and leadership team. Thank you for having us this evening. We're really proud of our students at Transit and the members of the Future City team. These are true leaders, future engineers, future students who are going to go off to do great things for our community down the road. And again, it's with or under the leadership of Mrs. Coyle, who, while many of us were spending our February break with our families, she was traveling with her middle school students down to Washington, D.C. So we appreciate her dedication to our students as well. And I'd like to bring her up to the podium for a few words.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Coyle.
Thank you, Dr. Wall, for your kind words. I didn't lose my luggage this year, so it was a win in every regard. Future City was an undertaking that came upon me when I started my job at Transit, and I kind of fell into it. I didn't really know what it was, and I've had the joy the last 2 years of learning it. Working with these students has been absolutely incredible. And when Dr. Wall says they are our future engineers, our future innovators, they are so thoughtful. And the amount of work that they put into this project starting back in September outside of school, on top of the advanced classes and the instruments and the sports and the everything else, is just really such an accomplishment. I am so proud of them and so proud of how they represented Transit and Williamsville at Nationals in DC. So I'm just going to introduce them to you, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I have our 3 presenters, Aria Gaikari, Abe Joseph, and Hal Lingen. Wave. And then we have Agnia Fulieri, Madamita Jayakmar, and Ria Kaur. Unable to make it tonight because of prior commitments were Annie Jang, Chen Livia Long, Anastasia, and Donvi Garrett Hart. Thank you for having us.
Hello, welcome to our city of Kansi, Mazutana. It's located off the coast of Singapore. Our city inherits its name from the East Asian goddess Mazu, and the patroness of the sea, and Tana, Malay for land. Located off the south coast of Singapore, our city currently boasts a population of 35,000. It was really exciting for us because it was a huge accomplishment.
When they announced the second place team and when we realized we got first place, that was like jaw-dropping. It was pin drop silence. I personally couldn't hear anything. I was just kind of dumbfounded, but it was like a wave of emotion that just rippled through our entire team, and we were really excited. It was emotional. It was a great experience.
I feel a lot of pride when being able to represent Transit at the national competition in Washington, D.C., because this is a school that I go to, and I have been able to have the opportunity to represent it on the national level.
Students start working on it formally with me at the end of September, but I know that kids were meeting over the summer to research once the topic was even released. This is all outside of school, above and beyond the work that they're already doing. The word proud is an understatement. to see when they reach this level of success, because there's just so much that goes into it. It's such a high level of dedication.
One of our key innovations is our self-healing concrete. Self-healing concrete is made out of 3 compounds and a bacterial compound. Self-healing concrete self-heals when the water hits against the concrete. The bacterial compounds feed off of the water and they instantly heal the concrete together. Our self-healing concrete is very important in the design of our islands, and we also use it in our buildings as well.
One of the main components that I built for our future city ended up being our energy island. This island helps to show how our city generates electricity through the use of moving parts. 2 of the moving parts that I designed were the whirlpool energy system and the hydroelectric buoys. It was a very good learning process, and I learned a lot about how cities, like our floating city, are able to generate electricity through the motion of waves and through difference in elevation with water.
I think we have very close relationships, especially now because we went on a trip together and we really learned what it was like. And it honestly does feel a lot like a family, because when we see each other, even in the hallways, there's always like going to be a connection, even years from now, that we did this together and we put all of our effort in.
That is awesome. Next, we have a truly special recognition. Earlier this year, the district was notified that one of our math educators was a recipient of the Presidential Award for Mathematics and Science Teaching. This is the highest award a K-12 educator can receive. Harry O'Malley, who is a math specialist at Casey Middle School, has transformed the lives of his students, finding new and unique ways to connect with them and deliver instruction. This is a well-deserved honor, and we are fortunate to have Mr. O'Malley as a teacher in our district. Let's take a look.
There's a pre-image triangle. Does anybody know? Will that be the small one or the big one? That'll be the small, okay?
It means a lot. So to get this recognition at this level, is very validating. You know, just like any human being, you look for outside signs that give you a little bit of confidence that what you're doing is something that's valued.
I'm surprised it took him this long to win it. He's truly an amazing teacher. It's great. It's one of the best feelings in the world, knowing that there's someone out there who can help you and is interested in teaching you and like knows more than you, so you can learn from them and get better. It's awesome feeling.
Connecting with kids first, listening to them with your heart and your mind, knowing what they like, what makes them tick, what inspires them, on a day-to-day basis, you know, and then constantly trying to design experiences and connect with them in ways that resonate with who they really are. So one of the lessons we did involved these blades here. These are called Nichiren blades, and they're actually from an anime called Demon Slayer. One of my students was really into the anime Demon Slayer, and so we decided to kind of, as a class, craft these Nichiren blades, which are the blades from the anime itself. In the show, the blades get their energy from sunlight. And so we did a project where we crafted blades of different sizes and shapes, and then we found the surface area of these blades so we could figure out how long it would take for the sun to charge the blade as it does in the real show. What do these words mean? What do these words mean? Yeah, what do they mean?
Pre-image means like it's the regular shape, but then image means like where you're projecting it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I could describe Mr. O'Malley in one word, it'd be caring. Definitely. He's just like a great person overall, and he like makes you laugh, but he also makes it fun. You can go from having a bad day in the morning to like just showing up here, and your day's like automatically better for the rest of the day.
If I had to describe Mr. O'Malley, it would probably be like enthusiastic about everything that he does. He's like very fun and very like he likes his job a lot, and I'm glad that we have him.
I would be nowhere without the collaboration that I've had with everybody at every level of this district. You know, I've formed incredible relationships with, you know, custodians, teaching assistants, teachers, administrators at the building level and the district level, and parents and the students, and just, you know, I don't know, just every single day I have countless interactions with all these people that kind of shape me into who I've become. And yeah, I've put a lot of work in. I put my head down and done it. But yeah, I mean, I guess I just want to reiterate how much of a community effort this, and how much of a community recognition the award really is.
Congrats, Harry!
Congratulations, Harry. What a well-deserved honor.
Congratulations, Harry. Your math team over here at Casey is so happy for you, and we appreciate your expertise.
Congratulations, Harry. You are an incredible collaborative partner. I love working with you.
You are truly an inspiration to all.
Congratulations, Harry. We're so proud of you.
Congratulations, Harry. You are truly math-tastic.
Congratulations, Harry. Well-deserved honor.
Congratulations, Harry, on this amazing accomplishment. Your Casey family is so proud of you.
Harry, congratulations on such a prestigious honor. It's so nice to have worked with you all these years. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Harry. Way to go.
Congratulations, Harry. The lives you touch and the difference you make each and every day are truly immeasurable.
Harry, we're so proud of you. We're so lucky to have you here at Casey.
Thank you, Harry, for your positive influence on our students and faculty each and every day.
At this time, please join me in welcoming and congratulating Mr. O'Malley, math specialist from Casey Middle School, recipient of the Presidential Award for Mathematics and Science Teaching.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Little tearjerker. I got a little preview of the video, but I had no idea the end was going to be there with all of my colleagues and stuff. So that's a little bit of a great surprise. But anyway, thank you to everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank Nick Filipowski for putting together such a fantastic video. As someone who makes videos myself, I really appreciate not only the technical side of his work, as always, but how he kind of finds the emotions that are at the center of our experience. It was great to hear my students' words. So thanks, Nick. Amazing work, as always. I also want to extend a huge thank you to Dr. Brown Hall and the board for having me here tonight, and for the time, effort, and attention you've given to recognizing this accomplishment. Winning this award is certainly an honor, but I try not to put too much weight into awards. What I do put weight into is what it represents, which to me is the quality and impact of the work that I strive to do every day with my students. I have a very high bar for myself and my work, and that has always been my compass. So while winning this award has provided me with an opportunity to reflect, it isn't a place to rest or feel finished. Instead, I think of this award as a kind of vote of confidence, as I mentioned, an encouraging nudge telling me that other people see what I'm trying to do and feel that I'm headed in the right direction. Teaching is an incredibly challenging work for a lot of reasons. Like all of us, kids are incredibly complicated and diverse. As teachers, we're tasked with engaging them fully, not just intellectually, but emotionally and even spiritually. Every day, we're working to build connections, to create environments where students feel safe and respected and comfortable enough to make and take intellectual risks. We aim for them to leave our classrooms feeling inspired and energized, excited and proud about what they've learned and accomplished. And doing all that at scale, engaging deeply with dozens of kids simultaneously or 100 a day can be incredibly demanding, especially as a math teacher. Let's face it, math doesn't always come first on the list of things kids are naturally thrilled about. And in fact, if you haven't heard, most kids aren't exactly lining up at the door begging for more math class, at least not initially. So throughout my career, I've devoted myself to cracking that particular code, unlocking math's beauty and wonder and relevance to their lives, and making clear the connections that math has to all the things they really are passionate about. I try every day to show them math isn't just a subject or a series of skills to master. It's a powerful lens through which to see and understand the world in new and beautiful ways. And while I can say that I've had a good share of success with many students, I also recognize that there are many kids for whom I haven't fully cracked the code yet. And that just means there's still lots more work to do. It means I still have opportunities to learn, to refine my craft, and to continue growing every single day. Part of that ongoing growth, a huge part of it really is thanks to my colleagues here at Williamsville and beyond. This district specifically has incredible people. I've said this so many times. From Chris McGinley, who's one of the smartest, most thorough and thoughtful leaders I've worked with, to Sal Curella, who is cut from the same cloth and continues to provide me with the breathing room and support needed to work with kids in all the flexible ways that they need. Here in Williamsville, I'm surrounded daily by talented, dedicated educators who inspire me continually. Each one of my colleagues has skills and qualities that surpass mine in different ways. I find myself continually inspired by the amazing work they do, by their ability to connect with students, to innovate in their classrooms, and to make every student feel valued. So I learn from them constantly. I'm inspired by them constantly. And in a very real way, this recognition is not just mine. It belongs to all of us here. It's a reflection of the culture we have here at Williamsville, where excellence in teaching is valued, supported, and continuously pursued. And speaking of communities, the most important one in my life is my family. Mm-hmm. I absolutely have to thank my wonderful wife, who's here with me, and my kids, who mean everything to me. I really am nothing without them, without their constant love and support, without the sacrifices they make and the encouragement they offer to me each and every day. They are my foundation, my inspiration, and my greatest joy. And as a parent myself, it makes me even more appreciative of my own parents, who gave so much of themselves to support me and my own dreams and ambitions. I now see with greater clarity just how much they've given and done for me. So thank you to them too. I would not be here without them. As I reflect on this award and this moment, I hope that my recognition will serve as inspiration, just as my colleagues have inspired me, for others here in the district to continue working, growing, and aspiring to new heights. Teaching is a slow, steady climb toward improvement and growth. It's never easy, it's rarely quick, but it is always meaningful and always worthwhile. My hope is that this recognition becomes one more beacon among many in our district, something that others look toward and draw inspiration from as they continue their own journeys as educators and as human beings dedicated to making a difference in the lives of young people. Thank you all once again. Your recognition and your support mean a great deal. Enjoy the rest of our evening. Thanks.
you. Board President, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown Hall. Are there any board acknowledgements this evening? Dr. Spicer.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that I was able to enjoy the Williamsville North High School musical this past weekend. Anything Goes. It was absolutely phenomenal. I was so impressed with the performance, the lighting, the sound, everything that goes into a show. It was just really professionally done. So kudos to that whole group who did that.
Thank you. And oh, go ahead.
Dance performance at the
Right?
end
Right?
of Act 1.
Yes. Phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
It really was.
It was
Stop
so
it.
good.
It really was.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I agree.
I was gonna say the dancing, it was amazing. The whole show was so great.
Yes.
It was so
Yes.
and I can't even imagine.
Mr. Bueland, did you have something?
Can't add to that. That's what I was gonna
Okay,
say.
perfect. We all have the same things to
Yeah.
say.
I'm going to see Mary Poppins Friday night at East.
Yes.
Very excited.
Yep.
Any other board acknowledgements before we move on? Okay. We're on item number 4 now, public expression. I call on Parliamentarian Blackinger to review our public expression format.
Welcome to all who have come to observe this regular board meeting. Per policy 1510, the board allows for up to 30 minutes for this first public expression period and then 15 minutes for our second public expression. Item 19, near the end of the meeting. This is a time when we invite members of our school community to share ideas, opinions, and concerns with us. While we're here to listen carefully and we take your concerns seriously, public comment is not designed to be a discussion. Therefore, please do not expect us to respond tonight. Instead, you will receive a response by email after our meeting. Because we want to maintain mutual respect and civility, please ensure that comments are delivered in a respectful manner to the board directly. Also, under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to entertain any comments related to employee personnel information or any topic that may disclose information about a particular student. On these matters, we ask that you go through the appropriate administrative channels. Please note the individuals are required to sign up prior to our meeting, and each speaker is allotted 3 minutes for comments. You will be signaled at 2.5 minutes so that you may conclude your remarks. At this time, we will begin public comments. After I call on you, please step up to the podium and state your name. Suzanne Wagner, please.
Good evening. My name is Suzanne Wagner. Tonight, I will be speaking on equitable transportation for children with 2 homes. The district has taken great strides to recognize and accommodate children from diverse family structures. We send communications to both addresses. Some teachers even allow students to create art projects for both households, and overall ensure that school events are inclusive of all family types by not hosting events such as father-daughter dances. However, when it comes to busing, this same recognition does not extend to students with 2 residences. Currently, many students who do not take the bus are still assigned a bus number, leading to empty seats on numerous routes. My proposal is simple. Allow children with multiple residences, as per a legal parenting agreement, to be assigned a seat on both buses serving their respective homes. This would not decrease efficiency, as many students assigned a bus do not use it, leaving ample room for necessary accommodations. To be clear, I am not speaking about children who take a bus to or from a daycare center. I am speaking of families where both parents live separately and both addresses are assigned to the same schools. Furthermore, I believe a survey would reveal that more families opt out of bus service altogether than families who would request dual residence busing. Board of Education policy number 5710 states, the board will be responsible for providing transportation only between a student's legal residence and the school which they have been assigned unless otherwise authorized. The board may make available additional transportation services as may be necessary to fulfill clearly identified needs related to the educational goals of the district. This policy doesn't even need to be changed, as it already allows the board to make accommodations where necessary. Ensuring that children have consistent, stable transportation between both of their homes falls within this scope. Additionally, the district's strategic plan emphasizes wellness, community, and sustainability. Denying children equal access to transportation based on a legal custody agreement contradicts this vision and specifically goes against goal statement 2A, which states, all students and staff will have equitable access to instruction, tools, experiences, and practices that support and enhance their physical, social, and emotional safety and wellness. Families should not have to struggle with inconsistent transportation simply because their children have 2 homes. By allowing accommodations to busing, we would be making a meaningful step toward greater equity, ensuring all students, regardless of their family structure, have reliable district-supported transportation to both of their residences. I urge the board to consider my proposed solution. I have provided a second-page document which explains an additional solution, and please excuse my grammatical or spelling error at the end of the second page. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thanks, Suzanne. Next, Adrian Cohen.
Good evening. Before I start, I just want to tell you my husband and I just left Williamsville East. We've been at musical practice every night feeding hungry kids, and you will not be disappointed about Mary Poppins.
Awesome.
It is awesome. There's some special effects.
And thank you for doing that.
So good evening. I would like to address the district-wide safety plan. It is stated that a new plan is created by July 1st each year, with a public comment period for 30 days prior to adoption. I have sent in comments about the plan for the past 2 school years, but I have not received a response or noted any changes in the safety plan. So this year, I thought I would come speak to the board before the next plan is created. I have 2 kids at East High School, and the first time I walked into East, my initial thought was about the safety of the building. It lacks 4 walls for the classrooms. But I thought, well, there must be a specific plan in the event of a threat to student safety. However, in the past 2.5 years, I have not seen a plan or preparation needed to handle potentially catastrophic event. In the safety plan, there are policies and procedures listed for 10 possible situations that may occur in the school. All contain practices which cannot be accommodated at East without having 4 walls in the rooms. The lockdown procedures listed, 7 of the 15 procedures cannot be implemented at East. Therefore, the district-wide safety plan, as it is currently written, does not apply to 1/3 of the Williamsville High School students and the staff. I understand that the layout of East without doors and the lack of locks to protect the students and staff during lockdowns and shelter-in-place events presents logistical challenges, but we need to do better. Currently, during lockdown drills, the students and staff huddle in the corner of their rooms in clear sight of anyone walking past the area. They are told by staff, if it's a true emergency, just run. That is not a safety plan. The district safety plan states it is shared with local agencies who would be contracted to support the school during an emergency. If the district plan is not truly what's happening inside the building, this would not help the responders in those situations. I did read in the plan that the district has a specific lockdown plan per building, but I'm truly frightened to think that the specific plan for East, in the event of an intruder or a danger already inside the building, is to huddle in the corner of the room and hope for the best. The prevention and intervention section of the safety plan states, building safety drills are conducted in collaboration with members of the APD, and they're routinely consulted on matters of student safety. I have spoken to several APD officers about the logistics of East, and they have stated that a traditional lockdown model does not work for that building. So why does East not practice real strategies that could keep our kids safe? The time to let kids know what to do and practice doing it is not during an actual emergency. Perhaps the APD and our SROs could help the district come up with a lockdown drill that would help students at East know what to truly do in the unthinkable event of an intruder or danger already inside the building. Armored One is a local Syracuse, New York company. It's the nation's leading expert in school security. They work with schools to look at buildings and campuses to determine effective ways to help schools stay safe during school attacks.
Thank you, Adrienne.
This would be a great resource to help the district determine a better plan for East High School. As a parent, thinking about the risks that schools face on a daily basis causes sleepless nights. I know that schools can only control so many variables during a school day, but currently East does not have a plan to keep kids and staff safe during a true emergency. I implore you to please have meaningful discussions with law enforcement and area agencies that work with school districts to target safety issues in district buildings.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you.
No longer an option to not address this. Thank you.
Next, we have Dana Hensley.
Wow, I'd be nervous if my kid was at East. My name's Dana Hensley, and I would like to address the school calendar and hope that you guys could provide some insight when you go to discuss and vote on the policy. The question that I have that other people have brought up and I've heard in the community is, why do we need to continue to have a full week off in February? In the past, we used to have 2 weeks, and I think that that's a better setup for a lot of reasons. Looking at next year's schedule, students are off for 2 weeks of Christmas. They return on the 5th. They're back for 10 days. Then high schoolers are off for a week for Regents Week. The middle school and elementary schools are off for that Martin Luther King week. They come back for 3 weeks, and then they're off for another week. If you add in a snow day or a cold day on top of that, like we can experience, it's extremely disjointed. This creates a lot of disruptions within the first 60 days of the year, and it has a significant lack of continuity. It's difficult on families, and I'm sure it's difficult for teachers as well. I think certain groups of kids do fine, but maybe for some student subgroups, like the ones that are going to be highlighted later in the student achievement slides, the kids that are struggling to meet assessment standards and subject mastery, I noted that I looked ahead and it's like the English language learners, students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged students. Maybe having a disjointed January and February is not optimal for them. Additionally, February is bitter cold. If you don't have great childcare or funds to take your kids to Holiday Valley or fly to the Caribbean, because even Florida is not reliably warm in February, kids are often stuck at home on screens while their parents are at work. If we return to a 2-week break at Easter, like we used to have and like other school districts have in Niagara County, it would reduce the constant stopping and starting of school. Families who can't afford expensive trips could still drive somewhere and return in time, and kids would actually play outside because the weather is much milder. I also think it might reduce absenteeism before and after if Easter break was extended, instead of people taking off to fly on Friday before the Martin Luther King or before the February break week. I think coordinating with BOCES and other groups would be necessary, but I think it's something that's doable, and I do have questions on why we can never return to that. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your response.
Thanks, Dana. That's all we have.
Okay, that ends public expression. Dr. Brown Hall, I turn it over to you for presentations in 4B and 4C.
Thank you very much. So our first presentation, we have this evening was just mentioned. It is our student achievement outcomes presentation, and we do this annually. And as many of our board members know by attending board conferences through NISBA or ECASB, this is one of the critical pieces our Board of Education is responsible for, keeping an eye on and monitoring student achievement. So we have our data, which is published in our statistical highlights book. We have data that is published on our website, but we are very fortunate to have our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Marie Balin, here this evening to actually present on our student achievement outcomes for our previous years. So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Balin.
Thank you, Dr. Brownhall. Good evening, Board of Education and members of our school community. In keeping with our annual agenda, Dr. Brownhall are pleased to share information with you this evening as part of this presentation. The information that is reflected is a result of efforts made by the district administrative colleagues, and I thank them for their contributions. Additionally, I would also like to express my appreciation and gratitude to our teachers, our administrators, and our staff who support students each day. There's an abundance of information provided in the presentation, including the following: a review of assessment philosophy and approaches, our annual student achievement outcomes, including the New York State testing information and high school regents exams, information on computer-based testing, as well as supports and student opportunities. The entire presentation is also available in board docs in addition to the live presentation this evening. As noted, also, it's important to recognize that our work and efforts to deliver high-quality instruction, a responsiveness to students, experiences, and support for students each day is something that we strive to improve, and it's an ongoing effort. So by no means is our job done. The journey is an ongoing one in the spirit of continuous improvement. While we're looking at data, and a lot of times they're a moment in time or a snapshot, sometimes summative information, I do want to encourage us to continue to think about it as a journey. It is something that continues to be an effort each and every day on our behalf. So with that said, the first section we're looking at is our review of assessment philosophy and approaches. Our guiding principles include several elements. These are by definition assessment, assessment alignment, the uses and purposes of assessment, as well as formal and informal assessment. In Williamsville, we approach data analysis from a comprehensive perspective. We don't rely on any one assessment or score. Rather, we utilize a dynamic approach that includes diagnostic, formative, and summative components. As noted, the outcomes in the presentation are largely based on the state's summative information and data. This view is the largest and most general, including select assessments that are part of a greater system with numerous qualitative and quantitative measures. The larger picture of assessment as a system provides a greater context and provides in-depth information about individual student performance, progress, and achievement. As a whole, all of these data points and information serve as the basis for customizing and personalizing instruction and meeting our students' needs. It's important to emphasize that no single assessment or data point is used in isolation or as a sole determinant of student learning. So as you can see, and we've seen the slide before, an effective assessment system focuses on growth and achievement. The delivery of instruction or model of teaching and learning includes information gathering and acting on data and responsiveness for students. The cycle is reflected on this slide. Assessment relies on individual teachers gathering and examining data on their students' strengths and areas of concern or growth, monitoring their progress, and personalizing student learning. The types of data and the purposes that we include is in appendix to this presentation. We will not review that this evening, but it is included in the slides. Concerning the outcomes, these are things, again, that we have noted and reviewed before, and this is part of our annual review. On the screen here are our grade level participation rates for our grades 3 through 8 testing from last spring of 2024. You will recall that grade 8 students who take high school math and ELA in the middle school are not double tested and therefore do not take the grade 8 ELA and math tests. Of the remainder of the 8th graders, parents also have the right, and this is true across the grade levels, to not have their students participate in the ELA and math as well as science assessments. Continuing to move forward and still talking about our New York State assessments. We begin first with the frame from the New York State Education Department. Remember that the types of questions have changed over the years, as well as the number of days, length, and even the format in changing from paper-based test to computer-based testing. There are helpful references on the New York State Education.gov data site, and I would encourage our school community to reference any of that information on the site. It's a public-facing site, and there's an abundance of information on there. As far as this chart, recall that we implemented computer-based testing this past spring at the middle school level for grades 5 through 8. This coming spring of 2025, all grade levels that are tested at the elementary and middle schools, including grades 3 and 4, will embark on computer-based testing as well. So essentially, there will be very few, if any, paper-based tests that are available. Our results have demonstrated, as you can see, consistency with regard to positive performance outcomes, and they have ranked among the highest regionally and in comparison to the state. They are rated on performance levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, with level 1 indicating that students perform well below grade level, all the way through a level 4, which is beyond proficient. This chart is very involved. I would encourage a closer study of this, and I know there are a lot of numbers reflected on this side. The slide, what we had hoped to show here is subgroup information that is also provided publicly. In this case, it's important to remember that group sizes range, and students are often included in more than one subgroup based on information that is self-reported. The group sizes can be as small as 0, and the numbers are single digits, while others are larger. The asterisks indicate also where the number is too small for a calculation. This slide reflects our computer-based testing plan that we embarked on and implemented for CBT testing in 2024. And I had already mentioned the spring of 2025. At the building level, the elementary middle schools will be sharing additional details and information with our parents about testing as it's coming up in the spring. Moving on to our Regents exams, it is important to note just over the past the next several slides. This is from the past June of 2024. These outcomes are indicating our passing and mastery rates that are included, as well as state level results. This slide continues that analysis. As far as our Regents exams are concerned, summative information and a historical view is seen here for the past 5 years. And again, you'll note a high level of consistency with the performance. Mm-hmm. Going on to graduation rates, and again, there are several slides on this, and these are all drawn again from our public data site. Some are overarching information. Here you can see our district as well as Erie County and New York State. And then on the following slides, you also see subgroup information that's already been mentioned during this meeting. Note that on the bottom of the slide, we did add some information to provide additional detail. This references some of the cohort sizes. In some cases, we do have students that are continuing to meet their educational goals and have remained in the district beyond 4 years. So that is also noted at the bottom. The state does not currently consider them graduates because they have not finished their education. So there's just a note there at the bottom. I do want to mention also, as I mentioned when I opened, our work is not finished. We recognize that there are still goals to achieve. Thus, our goals in our strategic plan and our DEI plan also cross-reference with this, as do the action plans that the schools have developed. So our work is not concluded at this time. As far as advanced placement goes, advanced placement and college level coursework continues to be strong in Williamsville. This is evident in the number of exams taken, the number of students participating, as well as our student results. On the screen, you will see 4 years of data with respect to our advanced placement exams. Next, I will talk just briefly about our student support and opportunities. And this one is very, very exciting. There are many different options and opportunities afforded to our students in the district. The description for these opportunities and detailed information can be found with the course information in the high school catalogs available on our district website on the respective pages for each of the 3 high schools. In the coming weeks, we plan to share an additional webpage for parents and our staff on our district website devoted exclusively to advanced coursework opportunities, along with a letter to parents and guardians of students at the middle and high school levels. There, extensive information on what the district provides beginning at the middle school and continuing through high school will be provided. At current time, as of last week, we have almost 70 different college level opportunities afforded to our students. Those are all found on that website as well. In terms of student support, you've heard the term Child Study Team or CST mentioned numerous times over our series of presentations that we've made. The Office of Instruction and the Office of Exceptional Education and Student Services has partnered along with building principals to review the CST process, as well as the repository and system that supports its implementation. After careful study, a pilot of the digital system will allow for intensive analysis of how an electronic customized system can assist with effective implementation of CST in grades K through 12. After significant discussion and providing information, we have asked schools to consider assisting us with a pilot in an effort to gather information and to inform next steps. So last on these next set of slides, and we will not go through these in extensive detail, we are familiar with New York State's vision and initiatives, including the Blue Ribbon Commission and New York State Inspire. We've provided a brief overview and links on the next several slides with plans to share even more in the future. There are 12 recommendations that one will notice in looking at these components, and included here are the goals for students as well as the portrait of a graduate. I'll just fast forward a bit and get to the end here. And in the appendix, these are the reference slides that I had mentioned earlier. Again, one can take their leisure and take a look at these. And as of course, if there is anything that anyone may need or any questions that anyone may have, anyone here at district office is more than happy to answer questions about any programs that we offer or any student opportunities. I do thank you all for your time and the opportunity to present this evening. And again, thank you to everyone at the building, because they are the ones who are crafting the student schedules and supporting the students each and every day directly. So we do appreciate that. So at this time, I'll conclude the presentation and take any questions or comments that the board may have.
Any questions for Dr. Bell and board members? Again, as Dr. Bellin explained, all this information is available in board docs. If you go to the public site also, there is more information you are able to drill down on. And if you have any specific questions, please be sure to reach out to your building principal or reach out to our instruction department. So Dr. Bellin, thank you very much for that presentation.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Our next presentation this evening, we are pleased to welcome back the Western New York Education Service Council. So I want to thank the Board of Education, because the board remembers a few years ago, we were asked about our special education department and what we can do to revamp our special education department. I spoke with our assistant superintendent of exceptional education and student support services, and we tossed around the idea of bringing in the Western New York Education Service Council to do a deep dive into our special education department. The board approved that. They approved the funding for it. And the Western New York Education Service Council, under the direction of Mr. Tony Day, spent 6 months in our district really researching what we do with our special education department. They worked in partnership with our special education department, and I want to thank our current directors, Ms. Christine Barth, Ms. Kathy Raxel, Mr. John D'Angelo, who's back there, and Cheryl Lazaro, who's not here, who also worked to make sure that we're moving in the right direction. Many of you will remember in July 2 years ago, the Western New York Education Service Council came and presented their findings and many recommendations. We formed a special education advisory committee, and one of the goals was to also develop a special education strategic plan through a task force. We are very proud that we are moving along in this process. So I want to thank the board, because this does not come without a cost. And there is a cost that goes along with all these recommendations, but the board has supported all of that work and has continued to fund that. And we'll get into talking about additional funding a little later when we talk about the budget, because there's more funding to come. So I want to thank the board for that, and I'll turn it over to the Western New York Education Service Council. This evening, we have Executive Director Tony Day, and we have the specialists from the council who work with our school district, Sue Fry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Brownhall. Good evening, everyone. We're pleased to be back to talk to you again from 2 years ago. I have to tell you just a little story. This very day, I was in another district in the beginning stages of a special education review, and one of the building administrators looked at me and said, "So can you tell me, do districts implement the recommendations that you make?" I said, "Well, that depends upon the district, but you should be proud to know that here at Williamsville, the recommendations that have been made, they've been acted upon. Everything from really engaged professional development focused on special education, meetings of administrators and teachers with improving hopes of building communication, the hiring of staff, both administrative and teaching, to support programs. A lot of work has already been implemented, and I think you should be very proud.
Thank you.
We've been proud to work along with Dr. Brown Hall, Mr. Scanzuzzo, and the entire team. And one of the pieces that we're really excited about is the strategic planning process that has taken place really over the course of about a year and a half. Because there was a commitment from the district leadership, not just to hurry up and get something done, but to make sure it was done thoughtfully and well. And so our charge really was to try to create a long-range plan to build towards a vision of what special education can be for kids in the Williamsville Central School District. And it was meant to be a 3 to 5 year plan, because good plans take time to implement and implement well. It was also designed to be very much aligned to the district's strategic plan. So it could be seen as an outgrowth of it, not as a competing plan. It's really a blueprint as well. Knowing that, when you're working at your level, at the policy level, the decisions around implementation oftentimes involve the need for resources. And so you can't artificially put down timeline for resource use that the task force is not in control of. That is the purview of the Board of Education with the support of the superintendent of schools. So in our, the only timeline you'll see in the strategic plan is a 5-year notion, 2025 to 2030, but really leaving it to the administration working in conjunction with the board and the staff about which goals to try to achieve which year. The strategic planning team this is a dedicated group of parents and teachers and administrators meeting monthly for really about 6 months last school year and about 6 months of this school year to arrive really in a highly engaged way to really tackle, like, what are the pieces, what is our vision, what is our mission, what are the big goal areas, and what are we trying to accomplish? How do we want the delivery of special education to look different 5 years from now than it is today? And as part of that, I'd like to introduce Sue Fry. Sue is the retired assistant superintendent from Depew. She has a wealth of experience in strategic planning. She's also a professor at Buffalo State University and does lots of consulting. And Sue was really the leader of this process. And so I'm going to turn it over to her at this point.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to share our work, which was really designed to create a vision and mission around the special education program for the Williamsville Central School District. But to do that, we needed to gather data and gather input from key stakeholders. So the district supported us to implement a thought exchange survey. And it was fascinating because we had 531 participants, which included parents, teachers, faculty members. I don't believe we had students, but of those participants, we had 441 different thoughts. And from those thoughts, we had 1,100 ratings. So all of those thoughts got into themes, and the algorithm behind the survey put them into broad categories. And what we found, we got some really good information. We got major thought feedback. And the key ones you see are inclusive and individualized education, student-centered approach, and an improved communication and support. Some additional key takeaways that occurred from the survey: we need appropriate placements and options for our students, professional development and support for staff, consistency in testing and classification, work with co-teaching and inclusion, early intervention and screening opportunities, as well as transition support for students that are moving out of our district, graduating. So that we also looked at other data sources. The recommendations from the Service Council study, the special education study, provided a blueprint with some key priorities and recommendations. We examined the district's strategic plan to, as Tony said, to align our work with that. We also looked at the school report card data, particularly for special education, and some of the key indicators that came from that. That work allowed us to create a special ed vision and mission. That work took quite some time because we had a lot of competing viewpoints. And when we finally came to consensus on what the vision and mission was, it really stands for what the district believes special education should have for its vision and mission. From those vision and mission statements, we established goal areas and initial district plan. Team members were then assigned to 3 goal areas, which evolved into writing goal area statements, indicators of progress, and recommended action steps. But I want to share with you first what our vision and mission evolved to. And it really the foundation is our core beliefs. The vision of the Williamsville Central School District Special Education Program is to ensure a district-wide model of excellence that fosters individual student success, well-being, and meets the unique needs of all students in the least restrictive environment. The mission to accomplish that vision is that the Williamsville Central School District Special Education Program is to ensure access to fair, equitable, and high-quality special education and effective communication with all stakeholders. That is a lot of work, and that now is translated into the goal areas of communication, wellness, community, and sustainability, and teaching, learning, and leadership. So each goal area, we had specific members from the task force work specifically in a goal area, and they came up with the goal statements. So for communication, the Williamsville Central School District and schools will have open and transparent communication with students, families, and staff. That moves into specific areas of common vocabulary to be developed and used when communicating, discussing, and planning. The school district will increase effective communication with parents, and stakeholders will be informed of the availability of services. Each goal area has specific indicators of progress and specific action steps. The action steps do not have times yet because that is to be determined based on resources, and the staff will dig into that as they move forward. The indicators of progress for communication are to develop a common vocabulary that's used when communicating and discussing planning. That means an increasing number of stakeholders responding to a biannual survey that indicate understanding of the special ed key terms and programming descriptors. That's the indicator of that progress. The Williamsville Central School will increase effective communication with parents and will inform the availability of services. So those indicators of progress are bulleted below. So for effective communication with parents, the goal is to increase parent involvement from 87% to the SED recommended rate of 94% or higher. And the special ed handbook FAQ guide is embedded into the special ed landing page of the WITS site. So for the availability of services, the information, parents will report understanding of who and how to access and receive specific information on special education at each building. The staff will be able to offer feedback to the departmental strengths and areas for growth at least once per year. And building principals will report more access and communication with district members. So those are efforts to enhance communication among all stakeholders. The goal area of wellness, community, and sustainability will be to implement common procedures and protocols that build shared understanding between students, parents, and staff. The goal statements will be to maintain and build shared stakeholder of the total continuum of service for K-12 students. The school district will establish consistent procedures and protocols that include student achievement and progress data to ensure placement in special ed programs. And the school district will implement an ongoing cycle of review of the special ed action plan. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to read the indicators of progress. They're there in red for you to take a look at, but you can be assured that a lot of thought went into identifying what do we need to do to show evidence of growth towards those targets? And how do we achieve those? And how will we measure our work? The next goal area is teaching, learning, and leadership. And here, the school district and schools will increase student learning and improve outcomes for students with disabilities. We will increase student learning and improve outcomes by looking at the rate of improvement in literacy and mathematics, and it will be established and monitored for each special ed student instructed in a standards-based placement. Improve the effectiveness of co-teaching in the delivery of special ed services and instruction in the K-12 inclusion classrooms. And to identify consistent, rich core curriculum in all settings, servicing alternatively assessed students. So looking at the whole continuum of service. So the next indicator of progress is to improve the effectiveness of co-teaching in the delivery of specialized instruction in K-12 inclusion classrooms, and to identify consistent, rich core curriculum in all settings, servicing alternatively assessed students. So a lot of work to be identifying some of these areas, and how do we dig deep into that, and how do we identify the action steps? The goal area of diversity, equity, and inclusion is embedded in all of the other goals. And you can take a look here to see how it looks in each of those areas. That's our work. It does represent a lot of thought, a lot of research, and a lot of design from the task force members. And I'll open it up to any questions.
I could just offer as an umbrella. So the idea is the district recognized that special education students, there was room for growth in their learning and achievement. So that was the most important facet of the plan, is what will we do to embed the best practices to provide the best supports so that students can learn more. Then under communication and wellness, how do we establish procedures and protocols that guarantee that we can be consistent in their delivery across the district in identifying students and then delivering service? And then communication, how do we then improve communication between and amongst stakeholders so everybody understands what the goal of the plan is and how it all comes together? Those three pieces are inexorably linked to try and provide a better experience for kids, but it also recognizes the very important contributions of staff at the teaching level and buildings, and also the district level, working together with parents in partnership. So that work and the action steps that time would not allow us to go through, but there are action steps for every goal area. And that's really in the design. Any good strategic plan sets a big long-term goal, and then on an annual basis say, what are we going to try and do this year? What do we try and do next year? And that's really the SEAC and the department working with the directors, who really did a fantastic job supporting us in the process. That's where that plan goes next. And I also want to just, little shout out and kudos to Mrs. Kazmarek, Wagner, and Mr. Buell. And they were very integral members of this task force, because they really brought the perspective of the Board of Education along with parents. So it wasn't just teachers and staff. It really brought a different look at it. And their contributions were certainly really valuable in this entire process. So with that, we're welcome to take any questions that we might be able to respond to.
Any questions, board members? Dr. Spicer?
Not a question, just a statement. To echo kudos to my fellow board members, but as a special education parent, a member of SEAC, this plan really synthesizes what the community has been saying. It is so actionable and it's so clear, and it's what I think people have been really hungry to see. So I'm incredibly impressed with the work that's been done here, and just really excited to see it move forward. So thank you.
It's in good hands. You have lots of great people doing the boots on the ground work.
We do,
I have
indeed.
a question. Will we be able to see like the timelines and what's been completed and what's in store over the next couple of years?
So what we're going to do, very similar to how we provide updates on our strategic plan and our diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, next year we'll also have annual updates on our special education strategic plan and how we're moving along. What I want to do at the end of this year is wrap up and compare the recommendations that we received from the Western New York Education Service Council 2 years ago to show what we've done. Like, we hired an additional director. We've made sure that the directors are servicing feeder patterns, right? We've added an 811 continuum at North High School. We're looking to add a 15-1 standards base. There's been a lot that we've done. So to outline that would be very important. And I know right now we're working, we were meeting today about what additional FTEs will be necessary to reach some of our special education goals for next year. So staff will be working on that. Recommendations coming from the special education department, because as I said, this all comes at a cost. And I thank the board for investing. And we will definitely, by the March 25th Board of Education meeting, the budget work session, we'll have those additional costs to move forward the work for the 25-26 school year also.
Great. Yeah, I think the community would love to see that.
Absolutely. Mr. Buellen?
I just wanted to thank you guys particularly because I know I was annoying through this process and I annoyed you, but I think we did really good work. I just don't want to see us lose momentum. We have the plan. I want to make sure that we're not back here in 3 or 5 years stuck in the mud again. We need to keep moving the forward momentum. That didn't make any sense. We need to keep momentum going forward. And I don't want to lose that. And I think this was really important. And I hope that we continue as a board and as a district to support going forward with this plan. And this may sound upsetting to you, but damn the cost. We have to do what's right by our students and by our district. And I just hope that we continue to move forward. I know parents, special ed parents, as I am one, want to see change like this. And you and I have had many conversations. It comes slowly, but I think it is happening, but parents need to see it come to fruition and quickly. And I hope, and I know it doesn't change immediately, but I hope that we continue the forward momentum that we have.
I think you do have very good momentum, and I will tell you, you should be really proud of the plan. I've shown it to other former special ed directors and current, and when you look at it comprehensively, like, it is a real blueprint. Like, to do the plan as written would be, you'd have something to really bring people in to take a look at. But it's daunting work. It is not easy work. It requires a lot of thought, training, conversation to build the capacity. But the whole idea is, there's a little frame there. It's actually a little acronym called ROI, return on rate of improvement, not return on investment. That's a business thing. But the rate of improvement, the idea is, how do we know if kids are making improvement? Because it may not always show in some of the results that Dr. Balin is showing you on these big benchmarks. But how do we know when a parent asks, is my kid getting to be a better reader? Do we have a way of measuring that and saying yes? And that's a really critical part that's pretty challenging to do. But I'm really confident with Mr. Scanzuzzo, the department,
absolutely,
the whole department behind the directors. I think that you have a great opportunity here to keep that momentum going.
Well, using Mr. Buelling's words, damn the cost, let's move into the budget work.
Thank you so much.
And it's just been a pleasure working with the cost. Great.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So moving on.
Just an applause for all the work that departments will continue to do. But thank you very much. Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, we're moving on to item 5A. May I have a motion to recess the regular board meeting to conduct our budget work session? Dr. Singh, Dr. Spicer, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. I call the budget work session to order. Dr. Brown Hall and Mr. Kelly, I turn it over to you for our 2025-26 budget development presentation.
Thank you very much, Board President. So I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Management Services, Mr. Mike Kelly. But before I do want to stress one of the areas of focus for this budget work session was some reductions, right? And so you'll see that highlighted in here. At the March 25th meeting, you will see the finalization of some of the areas that had to be increased. So I don't want everyone thinking this is the final, because we will see increases, especially in staffing for special education priorities. There will be some increases also for some of our other priorities, like our BOCES budget that will be finalized at that time also. And so we'll see other increases, but this presentation is focused on some of the reductions. But I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Kelly.
Thanks so much. It's great to be back and talking about the budget for next school year. And we're going to go right into this, and I'm going to turn to this next slide here. Right here, we have our program continuation slide, and we've looked at this a couple of different times over the last couple of meetings, and it continues to evolve and develop each meeting, which is kind of exciting because we're seeing what it's going to take to continue to deliver the world-class education that we do here at Williamsville Schools. One thing I want to point out, at the February meeting, the district estimated that our total cost increases would be $11,777,343. Since our February meeting, the district is now estimating our total cost increases to deliver the same services that we have this year to be $10,835,944. The changes are tied to decreases in salaries from retirements and a reduction in the cost for transportation. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the presentation. I should note that the BOCES budget is not finalized and more changes are expected. I think the superintendent mentioned that a moment ago before he turned the presentation over to me. At this point, the budget increases total that 10.8 million that I mentioned, and this represents a 4.66% increase over the current year's budget. This is down from 5.06% at last month's meeting. This next slide, we're going to look at some of those reductions that the superintendent noted. You'll recall at the meeting last month, we talked about the number of teacher retirements that we were going to have. And this slide actually reflects those retirements. So you'll see the reduction in the budget of expenses of about $640,000. And this is a direct correlation to those retirements that we talked about at the last board meeting. On top of that, we also talked about the school start time changes at the last board meeting. And at that meeting, the Board of Education decided it wasn't the right time to make a change to school start time. When we began to look at that, we realized that there were potentially some cost increases tied to transportation of changing the school start times. So when I began to develop the budget, I started to build those costs in. When the Board of Education decided last month that this isn't the right time for us to change school start time, when I went back to work on the budget for this month, I reduced those costs. So it's just a little over $350,000 in cost reductions from the meeting last month. So if we look at these total reductions, we're just about $990,000, almost $1 million in cost reductions that have happened since last month's meeting, which I think is great progress. This next slide, we look at the tax cap calculation. This is exactly the same that we saw last month. There's no changes on this slide. So when we look at that tax cap calculation, the tax cap levy remains $148,845,213. This again is an increase of 3.29%. Again, this is status quo from last month. Next, we have our revenue budget. So this looks at all the different categories that we have of revenue that we present to the Board of Education, to the community, and ultimately is voted on in May. We have a few changes from the February budget. Fund balance use has been increased by $500,000 and now totals $3 million for the 25-26 budget. This is consistent with the current year's budget. For the current year's budget, we budgeted $3 million. And right now, as the budget stands for 25-26, we're also budgeting $3 million in fund balance. Sales tax was increased $224,700 due to stronger than expected numbers in the current year. So we saw a little bit of an adjustment and an uptick in where our sales tax was. So we made an adjustment going into next year's budget and made that almost $250,000 increase in sales tax for next year's budget. Interest revenue continues to be strong in the current interest rate environment, and we're now projecting interest rate revenue up $225,000 for next year's budget. And again, this is based on current year experience and what's expected for interest rates going forward at this time. As noted, the property tax levy is included, and that's that $148 million, the 3.29% increase. Total revenues now equal $243,256,518. Total expenses equal $243,576,519. At this point, the budget shows a deficit of $320,000. This is down from the $2.2 million that we saw at the February meeting. So we've made tremendous progress over that last month, over that last period. And somebody asked me, well, how did you do that? What happened? And as I noted, it's really a combination of seeing some increases in revenue that we just talked about, as well as some cost reductions. So we're very close to having a balanced budget at this point in time. The plan is present a balanced budget at the March 25th workshop meeting. As the superintendent noted, we will see some increases in special education costs and some potential other increases or decreases to the revenue budget. And we'll sort of marry that all together and hopefully have a really strong, good budget to present at that workshop on March 25th. The last slide I have for you today is sort of a summary of where we stand today. The working budget is $243,576,518. This is an increase of 4.72%. The proposed tax cap is the same. Again, we're at $148.8 million, or an increase of 3.29%. We've built in our cost reductions of the $990,000 from the February meeting. Some revenue increases are built into this budget. Again, those include sales tax, interest, and fund balance increases. New York State aid remains at $7.3 million increase. This is the same as February. The current working budget deficit is at $320,000 that I mentioned a moment ago. Initial retirements are now included in the working budget. As you can tell, we still have some more work to do. And this process is, a lengthy process. We started in the fall. We continue to build upon and refine the budget over the subsequent months, which now we're headed into the spring season, and we're getting closer and closer to finalizing our budget for the school district and the community and the Board of Education. With that, I turn it back over to the Board of Education to see if there's any questions or any discussion on the budget and where we stand today.
If I may, because we have included the retirements in here. And so far, if Dana will just confirm, we have 30 retirements. So we've included that in there. And when we do things like the efficiency study for transportation, we do it to try to see what reductions we can develop in transportation. If you look at the budget that Assistant Superintendent Kelly presented to you today, we do have year over year significant increases in transportation, approximately 6.5%. And that's because of fuel and contract increases. And we know that for our teacher salaries, we have put additional monies in there. We are currently negotiating with our teachers a new contract. Their contract expires August of 2025. And with the experience many board members around the table have seen, and I know Mr. Manna has negotiated many contracts. I've never negotiated a contract where there's been a savings. So we want to make sure we actually put money in there to appreciate the work that our teachers do. So those are some of the increases we will see also once we get to the March 25th budget work session.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Speaking of teacher retirements, Mr. Kelly, so you mentioned $640,000 in savings based on teacher retirement. Is that the net savings after they're replaced?
It is. It's a net number. And really the way we do that, most of the teachers that are retiring are on the top step. And to be conservative, we take a look at where are we hiring. And I work with Dana very closely on this because as she's shared with me and a lot of other members on the management team, we don't necessarily always hire on that step one right now because the landscape for teachers is very competitive. Oftentimes we're bringing in folks from other districts and we're hiring folks at that step 5. So I basically am taking teachers at the top step. I'm taking a look at what that step 5 salary number is, and then I'm sort of taking that net. Now, on top of that, there's one additional piece that's built into that. A lot of the teachers that submitted for retirement at the last meeting are eligible for a retirement incentive. So that is also netted out against that retirement savings number that you see there.
I'm glad you made it a conservative estimate.
Always want to be conservative here for the community to make sure that we have a strong budget and we're not short during that next calendar year or fiscal year, really, or school year.
Thank you. And my next question is, do you anticipate any more increased interest revenue the next month or two? You have 225,000, which is a lot.
It is, and that's a full year projection though for next school year. So, if you look at that on a month-to-month basis, it's not an overwhelming amount, but it's a nice increase. Right now, because of where we are seeing with inflation, our best guess are that interest rates are going to stay kind of steady where we are now. It's a little like reading a crystal ball or, the tea leaves. So you're sort of trying to project that out, but we're looking at what all the economic indicators are, and we're pretty comfortable with that number increasing.
So right now you're looking at a $320,000 deficit, which is not a lot of money, right, compared to the overall budget. But it just, my comment would be, imagine if we didn't save the $350,000 in the transportation from not doing the change in school start times. If we didn't have the retirement incentive, $600,000, and the interest on revenue income, I mean, you're talking over almost $1 million. On top of that, we'd have to be making up. So kudos to you and your department for keeping on top of this.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions from board members? Okay. We'll now have our public forum for the 2025-2026 budget only. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the board regarding the budget only may come up to the podium at this time. I don't see anyone approaching the podium. So may I have a motion to adjourn the budget work session and return to the regular meeting? Ms. Fletch, Ms. Poulin, all in favor? Motion carries.
Do you have a question?
Unanimously.
Okay.
Is there something?
No, I thought she was coming up to the podium. She raised her hand. I didn't know what she was.
No one's coming up to the podium. Okay.
You can't motion.
All right. So
Emotion.
Dr. Brown Hall, I turn it back over to you for your community update.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Board President. Of the community update for March 11th, 2025. First, the district calendar. So once we presented the calendar in February, there were 14 emails received at the contact@williamsok12.org email address. And the calendar is created in partnership with the BOCES calendar. I know there was a question about the, and it was also received when we were looking at the comments. Some families like the 1 week at February break, some families do not. Families are asking why we are still having a 2-week winter break, and they ask that not be something that we maintain. The 2-week winter break is because of where the holidays fall around wintertime. When we look forward to the 26-27 calendar, it is not likely that we will have a 2-week winter break. So it just happened that the way the holidays fell and returning to school on a Thursday or a Friday after the new year just doesn't seem feasible. That's why we have the 2-week winter break. That is not something we plan on doing every year. In our current calendar, we have 5 emergency closing days. I know there were questions about if we could remove one of the weeks at winter break and then move the end of the school year up by a week, and we cannot do that. The Regents exams are set by the state education department, and the rating day, the final rating day, is also set by the state education department. So we do not control those on a local level. Now, having 1 week at midwinter recess or 2 weeks at the spring recess, I know that was something that our board talked about a couple of years ago. And our Erie One BOCES, we follow the JMT calendar, the Erie One BOCES calendar, and there was discussion of actually looking to see what districts would be willing to do that. But the Erie One districts, all 19 of them, made an agreement that we would not do it unless we all did it, because we do have students that attend BOCES and receive classes there. So if we were to not do the February recess and BOCES did, our students that attend BOCES would not get instruction that week. And then if we added a week to the spring recess, our students would then miss out on instruction then. So that's 2 weeks of instruction our students that attend BOCES will miss out on. So we really try to adhere as much as possible to the BOCES calendar. Now, what's new this year is we no longer call them snow days. We call them emergency closing days, because many of you know that the governor did sign legislation that if the heat rises above 88 degrees, measured in the middle of the classroom, 3 feet above the floor in the shade, then we will be able to call a heat day where practicable, right? So districts now have to make some changes when they look at those days, because we may use heat days. Last school year we did. We had a day in June where it was very, very hot in our schools. It was actually the day we were doing our memory walk, and we had to cancel the memory walk and reschedule it because we allowed our elementary students to leave on a half day. So that is now written, and the governor has advanced that. So that is something that we have to consider. But our calendar is up for approval by our Board of Education later in the agenda. And I thank everyone that submitted questions about the calendar. Distraction-free school zones. Part of the governor's budget proposal is that we will have distraction-free school zones. Our district has to develop a plan and submit it to the state by August 1st for implementation in September. So making sure that our students don't have internet-enabled personal devices with them during the school day. So we have developed a committee in our district. Principal Andrew Bowen, the principal of North High School, is the chair of that committee. The committee has already met at the end of February, and they will meet twice in the month of March. Information is in the district and school newsletters. We have monthly articles and research on our website. We have graphics created to highlight the research and information available, and informational posters will be placed around schools for awareness. So parents are able to visit our distraction-free school zones webpage to get the most updated information regarding the cell phone proposals in our district. Not only cell phones, but any internet-enabled personal devices. One of the pieces of data in 2022, 46% of American teens reported that they were online almost constantly. And this is a global issue, not just a Williamsville issue. And this is applicable to the entire state, not just locally. District surveys. So many of our families received surveys. We have 3 surveys going on at this time, and we partnered with Via Evaluation. It's an outside resource for our district. And we've partnered with them before to conduct surveys so that the surveys are completely anonymous and they're randomized so that we get diversity of thought when those surveys are sent out to families. We have a strategic plan survey taking place at this time, a diversity, equity, inclusion plan survey, and a communication survey. So the question of cost, what is the cost for those surveys? Each survey costs $6,500, and that is for the development, the design, the meeting with the district to highlight really what information we want to get and glean from these surveys, the presentation, and all of the disaggregation of the data that we use so we can advance whatever work we are doing in the district. Parents have been randomly selected, and if you're selected, we ask that you please complete the survey. We are not sending it out to the entire community so that we do have random sampling and diversity of thought, and the report will be presented to the community at the May Board of Education meeting. So Caroline Taggart from VA Evaluation will come and present, as she did last year, all of the survey results, and they will be available online for all of our school stakeholders to see. Our next community forum. The community forum is a time for our community to come and have conversation with our Board of Education members. We know that when you speak at the board meeting, you are speaking to the board, but there's not a back and forth. At the community forum, there is a time that you're able to ask board members questions, and the board members will be able to respond. It will be on March 25th, following the budget work session. The budget work session will be from 6 to 7 o'clock approximately here in the district office. And then the community forum will be in the Casey Middle School library, and it will begin approximately at 7:15. So again, opportunity for students, parents, residents, and staff members to talk about any education-related item. There is no agenda or set topic, and we absolutely enjoy when students come and talk with our Board of Education. And the superintendent, I'll be there also. Summer school. So our summer school dates are set. Elementary and middle school summer school will be held at Transit Middle School from July 9th through August 19th. High school summer school will be at Williamsville East, and that'll be July 8th through August 20th. And our special education summer school will be located at Mill Middle School from July 7th through August 15th. We're very pleased. All of our summer school administrators have already been selected. So now we are in the process of beginning our staffing and notification to families. I want to congratulate Deborah Kaiser from Mill Middle School, Melanie Myers from Dodge Elementary School, and Jean Whites from Williamsville East. They are Williamsville's New York State Master Teachers, and this is their picture, the Master Teacher Program through Buffalo State College. I see one of our teachers in the audience. I was there he is. I was there when he was awarded the Master's Teachers certificate also. So I want to congratulate these three teachers for their outstanding work and being recognized as New York State Master Teachers. I also want to congratulate these four students who are our National Merit Scholarship finalists. I know I spoke about them in the weekly update, but Sophie Wang from Williamsville East and Williamsville North has 3 students this year: Emma Fallhaber, Jolinda Wang, and Lincoln Peacock. So congratulations to these 4 students for being National Merit Scholarship finalists. I want to remind everyone that the PTSA Council is offering 12 $1,000 scholarships. So applications considered, all students enrolled in the Williamsville Central School District High School for a minimum of 1 full year and will graduate in 2025 they are eligible to apply, and the deadline is April 1st. So please make sure you are looking. We have so many scholarship opportunities for our senior students. Make sure you're taking advantage of these scholarship opportunities. Every little bit helps when going to college. Your parents will greatly appreciate it. Last but not least, March is Women's History Month, it's Irish American Heritage Month, and Disability Awareness Month. It's really important that we continue to highlight these months and the significance of these months to really show all of the diversity in our district and the contributions that all of these special classes have in our district. March 24th to the 28th is Spirit Week district-wide, and Monday, the 24th, will be Pajama Day. Tuesday, the 25th, will be Country Club versus Country. Wednesday, the 26th, will be Monochrome Day. Thursday, the 27th, will be Jersey Day. And Friday, the 28th, will be School Spirit Day. So we encourage everyone to participate in Spirit Week. This is one of the events that is sponsored by SIAC, and there will be some great advertising this year. I just saw the banners that every school will have so that the students can take their pictures in front of. So SIAC does a great job with this, partnering with our communications department to make sure that this is district-wide. and that is the community update. Are there any questions from any board members about anything in the community update? Mr. Biscaglia.
I just maybe something to look into in terms of, I know Niagara County, and it was discussed with the calendar. Niagara BOCES actually has February week off, midwinter break, and then they all have 2 weeks in April. I mean, if it is a thought, and I know I've discussed this before, I mean, maybe checking in how they do it in terms of their students missing BOCES, those weeks, because I know their calendars are different than.
Yeah, there were 8, I believe there's 7 or 8 districts in Niagara County that bifurcated, and those students don't get instruction on those weeks. So I am aware of that. You're right. Other questions? I'll turn it back over to you, Board President.
Okay, thank you so much. We're moving on to item 7A. We have an upcoming school visit to Heim Elementary School and Heim Middle School on March 19th. Our next policy committee meeting is March 21st. As we've already spoken about, we have our community forum on March 25th. We have an after-school conversations with staff and the Board of Education on April 22nd from 4:30 to 5:30 in Casey Library. The Williamsville Central School District Board candidate ballot draw is in district office here on April 22nd at 5:30 p.m. And moving on, Ms. Poulin, will you please provide a student board member update?
The update is that student member petitions are due to their school offices on this Friday. All of the schools have had advertisement in the school inviting students to participate, as well as individual emails sent by their school principal encouraging interested students to pick up petitions to be submitted. So we will I will check with them on Friday and see how many potential board candidates we have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All additional events are listed in board docs. Are there any board member comments or questions on the 7A items? Dr. Spicer.
I just wanted to clarify, did all 3 high schools have the same number of days? The students have the same number of days to return their petitions?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Item 7B, board candidate information, and 7C, district annual vote information items are in board docs. ECASB is holding a prospective school board member workshop on March 22nd at their West Seneca campus. NYSBA events and liaison assignments are all in board docs. A reminder that the liaison expectation is to attend a minimum of 3 PTSA meetings and 2 school events. 7G, we received correspondence from community members on the Heim Elementary School parking lot, reconsidering school start times, on the school start times communication, on our surveys, and on school uniforms at an event. 7H, Area 1 BOCES annual meeting is at 6 p.m. on April 9th at the education campus. And are there any board member questions or comments on these items 7B through 7H? Okay. Under agenda items 9 through 14, which is minutes, personnel, business and finance, exceptional education, special needs and student activities, district facilities and support services, and other business, may I have a motion to approve the agenda items 9 through 14 as presented. Ms. Bleckinger, may I have a second? Dr. Singh, any discussion? Ms. Poulin?
Yes, I would like to request that item 12C, district calendar, being removed from the consent agenda to be voted on separately, please.
Okay, so we will separate agenda item 12C. May I have a motion to approve the 2025-26 student calendar as presented?
Like a motion, then.
Yes. Mr. Manna is the first. May I have a second? Mr. Bulin, any discussion?
An offer an amendment?
Well, go ahead.
Ms. Poulin?
Yes, I based on the email that we received from the DEI committee, I would like to propose that we amend our district calendar to include Rosh Hashanah as a superintendent's workday for the 25-26 school year.
Okay, so the motion is to amend the 2025-26 student calendar to add Rosh Hashanah as a non-public holiday to be listed as a superintendent conference day on Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Ms. Poulin made the motion. Second, Mr. Manna. Is there any discussion on the amendment? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the 2025-26 student calendar as amended with the addition of Rosh Hashanah? Dr. Singh, Dr. Spicer, is there any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. May I now have a motion to approve agenda items 9 minutes, 10 personnel, 11 business and finance, 12A and 12B under exceptional education, 13 district facilities and student services, and 14 other business as presented. Ms. Bleckinger, Dr. Singh, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. I would like to thank the following retiree for their service to the district: Paula McCarthy, Casey Middle School clerk typist with 18 years of service. Waiting very patiently, I would like to congratulate and welcome the newly appointed South High School Assistant Principal and Athletic Director, Patrick Lester.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everyone who stuck around for this. I'm pretty excited about it. I do have to say, I know I'm not supposed to be looking at my phone, but Williamsville South was playing for the section crossover game today, and they won. So big round of applause. Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Brown Hall, Mr. Boardman, Mr. Muchka, and the Board of Education for the opportunity to serve as the next athletic director and assistant principal at Williamsville South. South has been a part of my family's life for over 40 years, and I am honored and humbled to take this role. I want to thank my family for their love, the Williamsville community for their support. I would also like to thank my wife and 3 children for inspiring me daily. It will be my great privilege to build on my father's legacy and help continue the tradition of excellence at Williamsville South. Go Billies.
Yay.
Graham worked with us in Grand Island to release them.
Okay, we're moving on to item 15A. May I have a motion to take from the table for the second reading of policy up, 15, did I say 14?
No, you said
Item 15A. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
May I have a motion to take from the table for the second reading of policy update 3421 as presented? Dr. Spicer, Mr. Manna, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 15B, may I have a motion for the first nope, sorry. We're still on 15A. May I have a motion for the second reading and adoption of policy 3421? Ms. Blackinger, Ms. Fletch, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 15B, may I have a motion for the first reading of policies 1210, 3311, and 5840 as presented? Mr. Biscaglia, Dr. Singh, any discussion? All in favor? Discussion, Ms. Poulin.
Yes. As I read this policy, it's very generic in the process of selecting a student board member. And as I have read other school district policies regarding the inclusion of student board members, they've been very specific about how their district is going to choose those students. So I would like to see our policy also reflect our exact process, because that becomes our policy then.
I was going to say exact same thing. I mean, we list all the possibilities, but I think we were specific, unless the board wants to in the future change that policy. I think we
But
should
then they
list
would have to go back and
policy,
change policy, right?
I'd also like to, and I don't know if we would do this in this election of the student board members, depending on how many students run in each school, but I've become lately a fan of ranked voting, especially when there's more than 2 people running. Since if you have 3 people running or 4 people running, the winner could wind up with not the majority of the votes, the most votes, but not the majority. So it's too late now in this cycle, but I think for the future, if we have more than 2 students running, we might want to consider the policy of having a ranked voting system. But I agree with you, and we should have our policy in this.
Dr. Spicer.
Like I said last time when it came up for discussion, you just don't want to get too in the weeds. So I think maybe we would need to table this and have some proposed language, because you don't want to get line by line in a policy. You don't want to put a process in a policy. So leaving ourselves room to consider things in the future, but acknowledging it and outlining it in a policy makes sense.
Any other comments? Yes, this is the first reading. We do have a policy committee meeting this month. Maybe if the board agrees, the policy committee can look at this and maybe make some adjustments to the language to bring back for next meeting. Does that seem amenable? Okay. So that's what we will plan to do then. So in terms of the motion then for the first reading of these policies, all in favor, knowing that we will likely be bringing first. Yeah. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. May I have a motion to table these policies for the second reading and adoption at the April 22nd meeting? Mr. Manna, Ms. Blackinger, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 16A, at the annual Erie One BOCES meeting on April 9th, they will be reviewing the nominations for the April 22nd elections for 3 board member seats, which carry a 3-year term. Presently, there are 3 candidates who are seeking election, and they have provided letters for our review. Would someone like to make a motion to nominate a candidate for the Erie One BOCES board? Ms. Blackinger.
I would like to nominate Cam Hall.
Okay. Board member Blackinger has moved to nominate Cam Hall, located in the Hamburg Central School District, as candidate for the election to be held on April 22nd, 2025, to serve as a trustee for the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, First Supervisory District of Erie County, in a term beginning July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Is there a second? Mr. Manna, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Is there any other motions for nomination? Ms. Poulin?
I would like to nominate Mark Mecca.
Board member Poulin has moved to nominate Mark Mecca, the incumbent located in the Williamsville Central School District, as a candidate for the election to be held on April 22nd, 2025, to serve as a trustee for the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, First Supervisory District of Erie County, in a term beginning July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Is there any discussion? I'm sorry, I didn't get a second. Is there a second? Mr. Bulin, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Is there any other motion to nominate a candidate?
Motion nominate Mary Boos.
Okay. Mr. Manna, board member Manna has moved to nominate Mary. Is that how you say her last name? Booth? Bussey, thank you. Board member Manna has moved to nominate Mary Bussey, the incumbent located in the West Seneca Central School District, as a candidate for the election to be held on April 22nd, 2025, to serve as a trustee for the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, First Supervisory District of Erie County, in a term beginning July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Is there a second? Ms. Bleckenshire, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 17A, is our second public expression. If anyone in the audience would like to speak at this time, please raise your hand. Go ahead and approach the podium. Ms. Bleckinger, can you please read the second public expression statement?
The same policies from the first public expression apply to the second public expression, with the exception of allowing 15 minutes now. And if you spoke at the first public expression, the topic for the second public expression must be unrelated to your previous comments. And please state your name at the podium. Thank you.
My name's Dana Hensley. My comment is on the procedure that just happened, which is related to what I talked about. The calendar was presented to everyone. You asked for comments to be made on the calendar, but you didn't vote on the calendar that we saw. So I don't understand why we're asking for comments on the calendar if there can be an amendment made that changes what school days are in session or not, and then you vote on it. I don't understand that policy. I certainly don't have any issue or problem with having Rosh Hashanah off. My question and problem is the policy of what happened. You voted on something that you showed the public, and you ended up voting on something that's different. And I don't think that that's right.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to approach the podium at this time? Okay, seeing no one else, we're moving on to items 18 and 19. There are no instruction, curriculum, or legislative matters to discuss. Item 20, are there any matters to discuss under Committee of the Whole? No. We will move on to item 21. Our next board meeting, which is our budget work session, will be at 6 p.m. on March 25th, with a community forum to follow in the Casey Middle School Library. And our next regular board meeting is April 22nd. May I have a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting? Mr. Bulin, Ms. Bleckinger, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Absolutely not. More points to make.
Good night, everyone.